Hello friends, welcome back to our fun myths and mysteries week as we are learning about really cool mythical creatures of the United States. So on Monday we did Sasquatch. If you missed out, you can always go check out our YouTube channel to get the instructions on how to make these. Yesterday we did the lava bear, which is one of the few mythical creatures we've actually caught because it's a real bear, which I thought was really cool. And today we are doing Bessie, who is a lake monster up in Lake Erie, and we'll get to learn about her story. Evan won't let me forget, because I did forget to tell you guys about the lava bear yesterday. We won't forget to tell you Bessie's story today. We were so into it yesterday. So I'm really excited about that. And of course, I want to show you guys something we're going to make next week, because next week is Pokemon week. Rohan wanted to do some Pokemon, and so we showed you guys the Pokeball and Charmander and Pikachu yesterday that we had going on. This one is Blastoise, and he fires independently. Pew, 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 pew. This is our Thursday challenge circuit, so that you guys, it's a tricky circuit, but by Thursday we'll have our circuit making skills under our belt. So make sure that you come next week and you can see this guy. Our fifth one, I've got to look at it. It might be a little too tricky to do online, so we might do a different one. So if you have a Pokemon other than Pikachu, Charmander, Blastoise, and the Pokeball that has some light on it and you really want to do it, you should let us know, like maybe today. And maybe I'll get that in there instead of Skitty, because Skitty is maybe looking a little tricky. But yes, please sign up for that. And if you don't, if you're not on it yet and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do Pokemon, sign up for our classes. We're at patreon.com/RosieResearch. It's $1 a week. You can sign up for more. That totally helps us and continue our programming and like make sure that everything is really saturated with fun. But you could also just do it for $1 a week, which is $4 a month, which is a coffee, which is kind of amazing. So that support really, really helps us. And we are going to go into September. So we're doing paper circuits all summer long. But in September, we're going to switch back into school mode. We're doing distance learning on Bainbridge Island. I know a lot of our friends, especially our friends in the LA school districts, are not in school in person. They are also distance learning. So we're going to try to figure out some scheduling. I think will be in the afternoon as a way to support you guys, and a way to do something fun at the end of your school day and also keep that learning going and maybe open the door for extra questions that can then turn into an afternoon of learning and an afternoon of easier emailing for moms and dads. Because I know that it's a juggle. Trust me, we know. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what you guys need to make our fun little storybook cover for today for Bessie. And then we'll get to our shout out. So if you want to shout out, make sure you type in the comments box and say hello to Evan. And I'll tell you the story of Bessie before I start wiring up Bessie.
Also,
I think it's too hard for me to do both at once.
It looks like John's power went out, so they don't have to print out. So you can also tell about how you can make it work without it.
John, you guys can totally make this work because you guys have been here all week. And if you just sort of look, it's just a piece of paper where you can make your same little cuts that we've been making with the folds to sort of turn it into a folder. And then when you fold it in half, what is this, hamburger style? You just are going to put your battery and this long leg piece of tape sort of reflected across that line. And that's all you got to do. So you're going to be in good position, John. I was thinking about you guys. I wonder how the storm is going, but you have no power. Wait. So how are you watching us? Oh, yesterday. I was like, wait a second. All right. So my friends who do have power and are watching us, or maybe didn't have power and are watching us now, you need the printout. If you don't have the printout, that's okay. These templates all come in your email inbox if you're a patron. But if you don't, these ones especially, you can kind of sort of, I don't know, freehand it. You can make it go, because they're not super difficult circuits. Next week, you definitely want to get on our email list because this guy's a little trickier. All right. And each of the templates this week also has some things you can cut out and cut in color to add to your cover to sort of make it uniquely about that little monster. So you need those printouts, or you need a plan on how you're going to do it along with us. You need a battery to power your circuit. We use the CR2032 batteries. They're 3 volts. So if you can't find specifically CR2032, find something that is 3 volts, okay? Not 1.5 volts, not 10 volts. I don't think there's any coin cells that are 10 volts, but that would be also bad. Like not 9 volts, but 3 volts is great. Sometimes they're a little bigger or a little thicker. Sometimes they're a little smaller or a little thinner. And that just changes how much capacity the battery has, so how long your LED will light up. But it'll still light up your LED, and that's what we want. You need something to light up your circuit, so LEDs. We're doing Bessie today, so I'm thinking I'll probably use blue. But if you don't have LEDs yet and you're working on Amazon, I always suggest getting sort of a kit with all the colors. There's all different ones out there. I know Naomi has one that has purple and chartreuse and like hot pink. She's got like the best colors of LEDs. I didn't even know they existed. They're amazing. You need some scissors to cut everything out. If your LED is coming through your book cover, you're gonna want something to poke it. Like a push pin is a great thing, or a toothpick, and then you can also use like a sharpened pencil or something like that to make the hole a little wider. And then you need two types of tape. You need some copper tape. This is our conductive tape, and sometimes you can find it like aluminum tape also. It'd be very shiny. So not aluminum tape like what you might think of as duct tape. That'll actually act as a non-conductive tape. So even though it's silvery in color, it's not conductive. It wants to be like shiny metal. If you don't have this or the aluminum tape, you can always use your aluminum foil at home. And then you need a non-conductive tape. So a paper or a plastic tape, you want masking tape, washi tape, scotch tape, duct tape, electrical tape. Those are the ones I can always think of off the top of my head. Those ones will all work as a non-conductive tape. I suggest using like a clear scotch tape so that you don't see it in your final project. I'm using this one so that on camera you guys can see what we're doing. All right, so Bessie. Let me tell you the story of Bessie before I start wiring this up. Bessie used to be a sturgeon in the Cuyahoga River in Ohio in like the 1970s or the 1980s. Started out as a totally normal fish sucking worms from the ground, all right? But in the 1970s and the 1980s, we didn't have this little thing called the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency. And the Cuyahoga River, maybe it wasn't really like a river. It was more like toxic sludge. Let's be honest here. It was like all of like the paint factories, all of the factories that would do like slaughterhouses for like cows or for meat, or like tanning factories or car manufacturers. They would all be on the river. And nowadays, when you're making something, we collect the really bad stuff, and then often we'll put it in these big drums, or we'll treat it somehow. And if we can't treat it, we bury it underground in these big drums and like all together, and we mark it so we know what it is. And sometimes those drums leak and they become a site we have to clean up, but we sort of know where it's at. But in the 70s and the 80s, they just put it in the river. They were like, oh, that water's going by. It doesn't matter if I throw in some tar in there. No big deal. Gasoline? Psh, who cares? So Bessie one day was eating these worms and got a big gulp of toxic sludge in her, and it made her grow, and it changed what she wanted to eat. So she only wanted to eat toxic sludge. And as she ate more and more of this disgusting toxic sludge, she grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And she started to get really angry at humans because she saw what it did to her other fish friends, who now she was so big they were scared of her. So she was all alone, which is never good when you're feeling sad and angry at something. And she really wanted to show the humans like that it wasn't okay. So she was eating the toxic sludge to get bigger and bigger because she had plans that she would take over a cargo ship and sink it to show them how bad it was of what they were doing. And so she staked out a spot where like all the cargo ships would go by, and as she was eating the toxic sludge, she was getting bigger and bigger. And they would make reportings of her. They would cite Bessie and be like, oh my gosh, there's this really big creature. And they would kind of get freaked out. The problem is as she was eating the toxic sludge, she was eating the toxic sludge, so there was less of it. And she never got big enough to take down the oil tanker. Rumor has it she's no longer there. She's actually shrunk back into a normal fish because we cleaned up our act. But she's actually named after the person who started a nuclear plant, Norman Bess. And she just became Bessie. And she's like sort of a great, interesting story on why it's really important to keep our environment clean and why we wouldn't want to dump all these toxic chemicals into rivers. Especially, we still do it. I mean, if you look at Flint, Michigan, terrible, right? You can't even drink the water. It comes out brown there. So we still have a lot of work to do on that. But the Cuyahoga River no longer can be lit on fire. So you could actually look this up. It used to light on fire. That's how bad it was. And apparently one time, a ball of fire, like a raft of fire from the toxic sludge, drifted down and even burnt like an old railway area, which I think is really cool. So that is my story of Bessie. But you will get to make your story of Bessie and see what you want her to do and who she might scare or maybe who she befriends. Never know. But first, we need a little storybook cover to help her out. So what we're going to do, our first thing on our template is we are actually going to cut down this line. And we've sort of learned that it's a little better if instead of cutting just this line, we cut sort of a rectangle out. So I'm actually going to cut on either side of the line and cut a rectangle out so it kind of looks like a pair of pants. That's going to be on this bottom. So I'm going to cut a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right of this line. Just like that. And I'm going to cut up to the center spot where it folds up, and then I can just cut this piece out. Just like that. Alright, so that's our first piece, is just to cut out this piece right here. Alright, and then if you want your LED to go through to the other side of the book cover, you're going to poke your hole where you want your LED. So John, you don't have to put your LED here, you can put it anywhere. I know you're a circuit master. Well, we're gonna use a little metal piece. It kind of pokes the hole really quickly in the paper, and then you can open it up with like a pencil or something. You can make it a little bit bigger, which is handy. And then the next thing we always like to do is fold everything in place so that after we get our circuit put together, our folding it doesn't break the circuit. So we're gonna fold along these lines. These ones fold up so it hides everything. So this guy folds straight up in half, just like this. Just a minute, please, Georgia. All right, so this guy folds in half. And then to make a pocket for our story is, good job, Georgia. We're going to actually roll fold this. So we're gonna fold it first up to the midline on this side. And then after we fold it to the midline, we're gonna fold it up again. All right, and so it creates this little sort of folder pocket here where we can slip our storybook in. And then on this side, we hide our circuit that we worked so hard on so that our front cover, it doesn't break as easily. And then the last thing to do is just to fold your folder in half so that it's all ready. I feel like this would be a great activity for teachers in their English classes because kids would love to build fun little storybooks like this. All right, so we are ready to wire it up. All right, so when we wire it up, there's a couple things. Ooh, I don't have my Curious George, but...
Well, you know what, Dr. Erica?
Yes.
I'm not sure if we ever did.
We didn't do shout-outs! You guys, where am I at this week? Yesterday I didn't tell the story. Today I'm not doing shout-outs. Holy cannoli. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. It's embarrassing. Who do we have today, my friends?
Today we have John.
Hello, Johnny. It's good to see you. I'm glad you guys have braved the storm.
Hello.
We have Georgia.
Hello, Georgia. Georgia's already done with her project. It's already working.
I also want to say, I have a wiggly tooth. It can wiggle this way.
She has a wiggly tooth. We're getting big.
We have Miss Naomi Maker.
Hello, Naomi. It's so good to see you. I loved all of your pictures of our Sasquatch. That was amazing.
And Hassan is here with us
Yay!
today.
Hello, Hassan. It's so good to see you today. I'm glad that you are joining us.
All right.
All right. And, of course, we have to say hello to Rohan and Venetia and Kaya and Zoe and Brody and Chase and... Mimi.
Frankie.
And Frankie and Iris. Hello, all of my friends. I am so sorry. I was so focused on not forgetting the Bessie story because I forgot to tell you the lava bear story that I forgot to say hello. It's crazy talk.
You're okay in our book.
It's crazy talk.
All right.
All right. So let's get back to this. So we are going to wire it up. We're going to put a piece of copper tape on the yellow line and a piece of copper tape on this orange line. All right. And I want to show you guys a trick for the copper tape. All right, if you're just joining us or you've never used the copper tape before, here's a tricky thing about the copper tape. when you get it started, you got to really get it started. You got to put that nail underneath and it should come off, and the back of the copper tape should be copper colored. It shouldn't be white. All right, if it's white and fuzzy, that means your paper backing split in half and it won't stick. So you still need to scrape away that fuzzy white part. And once you do this, we normally put it down on the table, and that's because if we don't, we pull it all the way off, it gets really curly, really fast, and really hard to use. All right, so instead of doing that, we always put it directly on the paper. And I'm gonna see if Evan can maybe go get Curious George for me. We forgot Curious George.
It's just been
one of those mornings, my friends. I had so much fun yesterday. I went out kayaking, and I did like 4 hours of kayaking along the Bainbridge Island coastline, and now my head is like in seal land. I'm thinking about swimming. I'm off in the la la land.
Again.
Yeah, Georgia came to the swimming spot, and it was pretty amazing. Yes, and we had friends that came. I saw a lion's mane jelly while I was there, which is cool. A lion's mane jelly.
What's a lion?
Super poisonous. This was like not where we were swimming. Gotta say that. It was really big. It was like this size, and it was white, and it was just so beautiful. It was like all just so, it looked just like what you imagine, like a massive amount of hair in the water, and just like super fluid. It was gorgeous.
Was it a jellyfish?
It was a jellyfish, yeah. And I asked my friend who was with me if they are as poisonous as the Portuguese man of war, and she said they were, if not more poisonous. And the Portuguese man of war, those are like the red ones. All right, we don't have Curious George. We have Gaudi today, but that's beautiful. All right, so let's get our stuff taped on so that you guys can see it.
It
doesn't wobble all around. I'm gonna put mine this way.
I wish I was on the kayaking foot.
Yeah, you'll come.
So I could see.
Alrighty, so first thing I'm gonna do is I am going to tape on this yellow line right here. So as I have it peeled off.
Oh, I swimmed really far.
She did. We are going to stick it down onto this yellow line, and I'm gonna have to make that turn down there. We're not gonna rip it to make that turn, my friends, okay? So make sure you don't rip it here. We're gonna press it down, and we're gonna give ourselves a whole bunch of extra right there. And then you can just sort of move it around. Like, you don't even have to do much. You can just move it around, press down somewhere else on the line, and you have this big loop right there, and that big loop is okay. You could pick it up and pull it more if you wanted, if you didn't like that loop. But it's totally fine to have this big loop, because what you can do is you can just press this loop down just like that. And then we're gonna go into this gray circle and not out of it, all right? So we wanna go into it, and we don't wanna go in just a little bit, all right? So we don't wanna go in just like right here. We really wanna go into that gray circle, all right? So if your tape ends right there, you're probably gonna have some issues with your circuit. Make sure it goes all the way into that circuit, or that circle, and not really out of it. Then we're gonna do the same thing with the next piece. So this one's just a straight line. We're just gonna lay it straight on down. Follow that template, and again, we're gonna go into the green circle and not out of it, and we wanna make sure we are in that green circle. All right, if you don't make it all the way in, start it over and make sure you're all the way in the green circle. Make sure it doesn't come out, all right? Now we just have to get our LED wired up. So you'll want to choose what color of LED you want. I'm thinking a lake monster probably wants some lake water. Although I'm also thinking maybe toxic lake water is rainbow. Maybe I want some rainbow. Ooh, now I'm not sure. So we want to attach our LED to our battery and make it light up. Now, there are a couple ways. You could put both legs on top, and you'll notice my LED doesn't light up. We could put both legs on bottom, doesn't light up. We could put the short leg on top and the long leg on bottom, and it doesn't light up either. So there's only one way to put this on where it lights up, and that is if the long leg is on top and the short leg is on the bottom. And that's because the way that these electrons make light is they slide through a hole, yippee, and they have so much fun. They let off a whole bunch of confetti light that we get to see with our eyes and have fun with. And they're such good rule followers that they don't go up the slides. All right, so here they're sort of all looking at the bottom of the slide, and they know that they're not supposed to go up the slide. So you want to flip that over. And you want to be able to get your battery and your LED to light up. That's really important. All right, my friends? And once we have that, we know that the battery works and that the LED works. All right, and that's really, really, really important stuff. All right, so now that we know our battery works and our LED works, we are going to put our battery in. It's gonna go face up right on top of that green circle. All right, so face up means we can see the letters for it. We wanna be able to see the letters still. So the polka dotty bottom, which I can show you right here. So this like polka dotty bottom, that guy is going to be the bottom, which is gonna go right next to the green paper. So I can still see the inscriptions on the top, all right? And when I tape it in, I want to tape just around the edges, not along the whole top of the battery. This is really important to take care of when we are in clear tape, all right? So if you are using clear tape, be really thoughtful about not putting it straight over the top. Okay, now I gotta put our LED in. All right, so the way that we put our LED in, we're gonna put it in through the bottom, like this. And we're gonna tape the legs down. So remember, there's one leg that's slightly longer. Let's see if we can get it on the paper here. There's one leg that's slightly longer, this guy right here, and one leg that's slightly shorter. And I have a line, the one that looks like the L is the long leg. So we're gonna tape the long leg, and we're gonna put it down towards that. And then the short leg goes and points towards the battery. And then from here, we're actually going to use our tape to tape those LED legs in. All right. So let me grab a piece of tape, which is on my arm. Just like this. And I'm gonna tape these LED legs in and make sure that those legs are touching the copper tape. All right. So I want to make sure that's really important that they're touching that copper tape right there. And we're going to tape them right on in, just like that. All right, so we've got them over the top of the copper tape. They're touching the copper tape. They're not on the paper. These are really important things. And then we're going to flip it over. And when we press it, it should light up. I saw it light up for a second. So, ooh, this is great. So when it lights up, I'm noticing that I have to like bend the paper up a little to light it. That's because my legs aren't pressed down enough. So what I can do is I can come over here and I can press the legs down really, really hard. And that can help get better connection. If you find that you still have that problem, you can lift up a little tape and put a little bit of aluminum foil underneath the tape, but on top of the metal leg. All right? And so now we have our little folder that has a light. And you can use your second piece like what Georgia is doing. You can cut out these fun little things here and you can use them to decorate your folder. So on Monday, for example, we had Sasquatch and I had a moon on there. We had a big Bigfoot in there. And so you can use those to create something. And when you put it behind one of the items, it kind of makes it glow, which is really cool. So here,
Show that again.
Oh yeah. So here on ours we have, this week we have, or today we have Bessie. We have like, it looks like a circle with waves, but it's really just if you wanted some water waves, there's a boat. Maybe you think of something else that's gonna be really important to your story that you wanna add to the cover of your book, which is amazing. I'm all for that kind of stuff. So again, here's the lava bear where we had our volcano. I made this one spurt lava. And then you can write the story of your lava bear and we can slip it into this pocket. And you can just make like a little book of paper. It's a great fun little writing exercise that you get to do science and make a lot of stuff. But I want to show you guys how you can put this together because obviously you don't want your book cover to do this every time. So I'm going to show you with the masking tape. I would really suggest though, you either use a tape you love like a washi tape that's super pretty, or you use a clear tape because it's gonna really show what we're doing. All right, so to hold these things in place, you can tape down right here, and that sort of holds this side in place. We can add a longer piece of tape if we need to. You always want to make sure that it folds really nicely. You can add some tape on this side, although Georgia yesterday realized if she used hot glue right here, she could have a double pocket. So she could have a pocket here. Oops. We'll put this guy here. Well, she could have a pocket like this for her story, and then she could have a secondary pocket right in there, which I think is super cool, especially if you want to write like a mystery about Bessie and the answer gets hidden in there. I thought that was very, very clever.
You can also tape that.
You could, you could even, you could tape this too, I guess, because if you wanted to tape it just normal, you would just tape all the way around. And if you wanted to tape it as a pocket, you could put the tape really carefully inside, halfway like that. So sort of inside my pocket. And then I could fold the rest of that tape around. And so now I have sort of a pocket here and a pocket here, which is super clever. I love that. All right, and then I want to also tape sort of these edge pieces so that it looks just like a book cover, and it's gonna feel hard, which I love because it's also sort of like a hardcover book. It adds that extra to it. So I like to tape half of the piece of tape onto the paper, and then I roll it over the top. Just like that when it's all in the same spot. All right, and that helps you sort of get a nice, even, straight edge. And then we're gonna do this side right here. And again, so you put the tape halfway on, just like that. And then you're going to roll it over. If you do it too tight down at the bottom, your LED will always be on. So you definitely want to leave that gap. I might have not left enough here. So what I can do is I can just rip some of this tape off, just like that. Whoops. And then I can have it so it has a nice seam on the edge, but it's not always on. Oop. And if it is always on, I have another trick for you. If you're struggling with that, you can take a piece of paper and you can slip it in just like that. And that can be your on-off. It would slip in towards the back where the top of the battery is. So if you were to look really closely in there, you'd see the battery. And right now, the top of the battery, which is like the bigger part, is facing down and the bottom is facing up. So that is how that would go if you're having trouble getting that to switch on and off. And from here, all we need to do is add a story, add some decorations, and make it uniquely ours. And I adore seeing all of your guys' projects. I know some of you guys have sent in your projects to us through email. It's at drerica@rosieresearch.com, and that's how they get in the pre-show. So if you're watching the pre-show and you're like, how do I get my project in there? You just gotta email it to me. All right, tomorrow we have another fun little book that we're gonna make, a great little writing project. I'm gonna go over and troubleshoot and hang out with my friends in Zoom and say goodbye to my YouTube friends. If you want to get into our Zoom classroom, again, that's at patreon.com/rosieresearch. Supports our programs, helps us continue to go, and gives you a lot of stability in your day, and hopefully a little break. All right, goodbye my YouTube friends, and hello my Zoom friends.